which are key areas that you can teleport to. And so we have a set of those all around, and it gives them the sense of ownership that they can travel across all the rooms. But the areas that they will eventually end up in on any side of the wall are the key areas where they can interact in. And so again, it's this psychological play of saying, okay, you have the freedom to do whatever you want in the confines of this area. And so if you can do it where you kind of manually navigate them through a series of steps, right, and they're able to just interact within the space and not teleport out. If you do let them freely teleport, you can be really good at controlling it, again, by setting kind of hotspots in key areas.
Is there any sort of surprise to that, in that they happen upon stuff and they go, oh, this is cool, and they think that maybe nobody else discovered it?
Yeah, I think that's the magic of virtual reality that, again, people have not really taken advantage of. Is the most exciting thing is when you happen upon that magic, right? Where the experience is so intuitive that when you go to try something, that actually works, right? And so it's not that you meant to do it, it's not that you were told to do it, but it's that you assumed you could do it, and it ended up being that you could do it. And I think those are the magical moments for most people when they go into an experience, right? So when I pick up, I remember the lab was very, it's a kind of staple vibe demo that I released with. Grabbed a coffee cup and I could hold it, right? And then just by thought, well, can I grab two? I grabbed two. Can I juggle them? And I started juggling them, and then I juggled three, right? And again, it was one of those magical moments where I presumed I could do this because I can do it in real life, and all of a sudden I was able to. And it wasn't necessarily programmed in that I had to do this.
Right.
There wasn't direction for that.
Right.
But again, yeah, I think that's a key magical moment, and that all comes down to kind of the game design itself.
Right.
I have a question for you. So, in terms of the haptics research, I don't know if you're thinking about it for this, but are there any other projects that you are kind of exploring the haptics component?
Yeah. So, so there's this like dichotomy where you have things like Leap Motion that do well in terms of gesture recognition, but the problem is the Leap Motion device itself has an FOV, and so you're able to use your hands here, but the minute you go outside of the FOV, you lose the tracking of the hands, and now it's no longer good. So even HoloLens kind of has this issue where we've demoed on the HoloLens, and there's a game called RoboRaid, and so you use your finger to shoot lasers. And people would start doing this because it's a more comfortable position ergonomically, and all of a sudden the lasers weren't shooting, right? It's because it was out of the FOV, and so Leap Motion suffers from that same thing. Additionally, Leap Motion suffers that it has no haptics, right? And so the reason we are able to type without looking and so accurately is because we have that kinesthetic feedback and that confirmation from the haptics of knowing that I hit that key, right? It's how we're able to find where the F and G key, is it F and G? What are the two with the little blips, right? Yeah. It's where you know to put your pointer fingers, right, when you just go reach for the keyboard. So haptics are a very key core component to VR. Again, you can relate so much of it as a one-to-one translation of the way we live now and the way we'll be in virtual reality. And so imagine your life as it is without being able to feel or touch anything, right, and how you get around the world. It's really hard to imagine, and VR will be the same because we're attempting to simulate all these environments that we exist in or want to exist in. It's the closest thing we have to a teleportation device, and so I think a big goal of the industry is trying to get the experience in VR as close as one-to-one as we have here. So when we put on the headset, it's completely intuitive, and that's one of the reasons that we built the haptic feedback glove. It was this idea of, we have these magic wands, right? But really in virtual reality, again, in terms of being a one-to-one translation, I want my hand. This is the tool I've used forever, and so I want my hand. So we built the glove, and it was amazing to see just the difference between when we demoed experiences with the Vive Magic Wands, we had to tell everyone what grip buttons were, what a touchpad was, what a trigger button was, right? You had to teach them all these things because it was basically a game plan. But then we put the glove on them, right? And the glove looked scary. It looked like a bomb. I remember going to, we were traveling to go present at MIT, right? And she goes, do you have any lithium-ion batteries, blah, blah. And I was like, oh yeah, 1 second. I pull out this thing, and she's like, excuse me, sir, can you hold on one moment, right? Because I pull it out. All the wires are exposed, right? Like to someone who doesn't know electronics, like it looked like a bomb. But despite this like big thing, people put it on, they put on the headset, and there was almost no education that had to be done, right? Because again, the magic moments of intuitiveness of I have my hand and I go do something and it does as I would expect it to do. Again, one of the reasons that we built the foot controllers is we wanted this full body natural immersion and presence in VR. right? When I look down and I don't see my feet, I'm walking around, it breaks that level, that presence. And so I think the goal of the industry more or less is at some point, I think with Moore's Law, we're supposed to have photorealistic representation by 2032, so in 15 years, where if you take the headset off and on, you won't be able to tell the difference between the graphics in the headset and what we have now.
Well, I hope at that point you don't need a helmet.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, hopefully it's something
That's the
much
big
more
thing.
fun. Yeah, I think in 15 years we'll figure something else out. Yeah.
2023, you're still putting on this giant glove and a helmet. I think you got a problem with it.
I think a couple of problems.
When you're recreating something historical like this, what is the biggest obstacle to actually accurately reproducing it? Is it like textures, is it art, or is it like the actual model itself?
I think it's the actual model itself. Again, it's not too bad when people are not familiar with it, but for those that really get into the experience, and if they know, the location or the history behind the place, like they will pick out all the small details and they'll just rip you apart. Textures are pretty, not that difficult to do. All this, it took some time to detail, but you see we did it once and then just kind of copied it across, so it's not difficult. It's just getting all the dimensions right so that when I'm standing in that temple or any other historical monument, that it is to scale as it would be if I was standing there. Because again, the goal is to recreate that reality, but as a simulation of virtual reality.
Just out of curiosity,
Sure.
because you said building to a certain height and all that, does it make any difference if a person's tall or small or a kid? Does it change its perspective in any way?
No,
everybody will have that same exact.
Yeah, you could think of it like if we rebuilt this room and I put it on,
Yes.
and then maybe a child put it on, we would just see it the exact same way.
Yeah.
The world would be a little taller for me and a little shorter for them.
Right, because I was thinking back to what you said, this plays in a museum and people could go on a tour. Is it a communal tour? Do you have a sense that or is it just I'm on my helmet, you're on your helmet, and we're both in this world alone? We don't see each other.
That's a great question.
We don't experience each other's
Yeah.
views in there. Because like when you go to the Grand Canyon with your family, part of it is, hey, look at that, and you both are, and you do it by yourself.
So in this experience itself, the individuals are going to be represented with avatars, and so when you're in a group tour, you will see all the other individuals as part of the group tour. You'll be able to mute people, you'll be able to turn off the avatars if you want to kind of experience it yourself with just a tour guide. Yeah, so all those options are available. It's funny that there's a whole uncanny valley scenario, and so it's making it not too realistic that people start to compare and contrast to themselves. They start to see all the flaws, but not making it too cartoonish. That we did robots in one experience before, and we took it to it was a medical group because they were interested in like telepresence.
Right.
And so we take it and we did a multiplayer network experience, and so we had 4 people put on the headset, and then 2 of them are looking at each other, and there's like, where's Paula? I don't see Paula, and Sam's like, I don't see June, right? And so they're just saying this, but they're looking at each other and they're robots, and they were just like, where's him and where's her, right? And they didn't recognize that those were their avatars, and so it was like kind of weird for them, and it was almost too much on the non-realistic side that it just didn't click.
It's almost like, I just thought, it's almost like you could, some other technology, but the way that they do the motion capture movies and put all that little cameras there, it's almost like the helmet you're gonna put on could have little cameras inside there.
Yeah. There's so much work being done where they're doing all sorts of gesture recognition in the face by putting diodes in the actual faceplate itself, and so it's reading all the lexicon again. What muscular? What contraction? Yeah, expressions in your face, right? And it's making an assumption based on that. There's out of the University of Tokyo, they are putting electric diodes on your masseter muscle in your jaw. They're sending different electrical frequencies to it to simulate food textures, and so if you do like a long low frequency, it feels as though you're chewing on a gummy bear versus kind of a high and short. It might be something more like not quite crunchy like bread, but a little thicker texture. They're also doing things where they're playing around with smell, where when you put on a headset, there's a couple of vials. And so you take a cookie, you put a little QR code stamp on it, you're looking at it, and so it'll change the, say, blank sugar cookie to a chocolate cookie or a lemon cookie or a mint chocolate chip cookie, and it's releasing the scent as you're looking at the cookies. And so when you eat the cookie, you actually believe it is that cookie when it's actually just a plain sugar cookie. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. There's the Tesla suit, which is a full body haptic suit. And so you get to really do really crazy things there where, you know, if you're an experience and it's raining, you can now control where the feedback is going, the magnitude of that feedback and how it's dispersed. And so I feel raindrops all over my body when I'm outside and it is raining. So things are getting like very insane on the forefront. These are all things that the public is not going to see for quite some period of time, but it tells you where the focus is in terms of kind of pushing VR forward. And it is getting to that point where, you know, somewhere in the near future, a lot of the big tech companies are solving the problems of kind of this inside-out tracking, just being able to put on a headset, do SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping to identify the space and objects around you. And then beyond that point, you're talking about a lot of accessories to like insanely deepen the immersion in an experience.
But everything seems to be so
Constricted.
confined. Yeah.
At the moment, yeah, it's like the Nokia phone in Commodore 64 days.
Right.